Hi, Vasilis. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Very good. Thanks. And you?
Very good. I see you very busy, and we just keep the conversation going on now, and we hope to show some interesting technology to manage all the conversation we were handling before with cost optimization, distribution, and so on. So let's share the screen, and you can start your presentation, my friend.
I love it. Excellent. Perfect. Thanks for having me again. So I'm Vasilis. I'm the founder of JUYO Hotel Analytics. I'll tell you a little bit about the company and what we do, and then we'll dive in net revenue and distribution cost and how we look at that area. So the reason why we started the company is, as you all know, in hotels, we have lots of different systems, lots of data, and that results in sort of all these data being spread out and these silos that we all know of. So it takes a lot of time. It's a lengthy process to put it all together. And obviously, what we want to focus is take the right decisions. And often the data is pointing us in different directions. So what we believe at JUYO is that science has given us a way to process data quite fast, and that is data visualization. So that's what we are. We're the hotel data analytics and visualization platform. And our mission is empowering hotel commercial teams to drive the most profitable business. So how do we do that? Generally speaking, we have a technology, we call it JUYO Canvas. It's super flexible. We gather all the data from all the different systems, whether it's your PMS data, whether it's the benchmarking data, anything that has to do with reviews, digital data, market demand, etc. And we bring it alive in sort of really crisp and beautiful reports and visualizations that any user can sort of customize and put together. So what can you do with it? First is understanding the hotel data with a PMS, everything around segmentation, your channels, your accounts, your lead time, all these dimensions surrounding your bookings. Second part is connecting everything that has to do with your market data, understand high demand, your pricing, your market share, etc. We also have a forecast and budget builder, so we allow you to put all this sort of data into practice and, let's say, build forecasts and budgets. And then eventually that will result into having that sort of collaboration and overview and being able to communicate with the whole, let's say, a commercial team on the performance. So last but not least, and that's what puts us maybe a little bit apart, is that we're very, very focused on profit. We are focused on net revenue. We're focused on distribution cost and also the total revenue component of it. So let's talk a little bit about JUYO net revenue and how do we think about net revenue and distribution cost at JUYO and how do we put it in practice. So first of all, we've done this since 2016. So we have quite a road in being busy with net RevPAR and boiling these analytics down. So this is not something new for us. So a little bit of thinking before. So the traditional view of looking at profitability is obviously the P&L view, where we start with rooms revenue, our costs, commissions, F&B, other revenues, cost, sales, and marketing, and profit. So that is the traditional view of looking at it, which is good, but we need a new way. We actually need to break it down completely, deconstruct it, and reconstruct it around the customer, and really reconstruct the room revenue, what is the additional spend, reconstruct all the distribution costs, etc., around that customer, and then boil it down to profit. So that's a little bit for the theory of how we think about it and how we do it at JUYO. So how do we sort of allow hotels to incorporate net revenue into the strategy? So first of all, there's three areas of focus for us. First of all is how we're generally doing. How much profit is our commercial strategy generating as a whole, as a total? The second part is how we align these teams to actually work together and to generate the most profitable business and to allocate resources where they actually should. And the third one is how do we translate it into daily tactics, let's say on the sort of day-to-day optimization. So first of all, in high level, as you talked also before on the panel, there's just so many things that we spend money in hotels. There's, video, there's commission overrides, there's widgets that we put on our website, there's meta search, there's advertising, you have sales teams, obviously, and we want to capture all the data. we don't want to capture only your transactional data, but also your sales and marketing data. So when we talk to net revenue, we actually thought about the totality of your distribution cost. We're all going to put them into the platform, and we're going to generate a, let's say, a net revenue funnel, starting from what the guest has paid in terms of revenue, which is often there's a difference between Booking.com and Expedia, for instance, where Expedia deducts the commission before. We're going to equalize all that. We're going to look at the hotel revenue, which is your traditional revenue. We're going to subtract all the direct acquisition costs that we can link to transactions, can be GDS fees, can be loyalty, can be your marketing campaigns, etc. And then we're going to also allocate the total sales and marketing spend directly on the transactions as well. And then we really have a full view of the net revenue. And it looks something like that. That is an example of the analytics that we give. In this example, that hotel generated a higher net revenue with the strategies that they had in place. So they grew their net revenue faster than their traditional revenue, so to speak, which actually, if you put it in numbers, results in quite some substantial difference in profit. So small adjustments left and right bring really large results once you start working with it. The second one is team alignment, and how can you sort of boil it a little bit more down so that it becomes actionable. And as we all know, we look at our segmentation in this way, and then our segmentation is coming from sort of different channels, and it looks like the best available rate in this occasion is the best segment. Now, if you boil things down in the net revenue, though, you start to realize that there's another picture that is coming to life. And in this very simplistic example, well, group seems to be actually the best one rather than best available rate. But in reality, when we're in our hotels, we need to deal with more complexity. We need to deal with our channels. We need to boil it down to rate codes. We need to look at companies, agencies, look at source markets, which is a source market where we get the most profitable business. There's loyalty. There's all these areas that are really hard to put together. And that's really what we do in the platform. We do all the hard work and the sort of hard lifting of all that data, putting it layer by layer, and really get boiling down at the most granular level what's the net contribution of the customers. But also we go further, which is we also allocate total revenues, and then later down the road, we're also going to look at profitability, total profitability of the customer. And then the third thing is boiling it down to day. That's when we really get tactical, when these occupancies are starting to rise. And then what we're going to look at is how does our profitability look at from a day-by-day basis? Are we, if we're forecasting to be fully booked, what is our net revenue? How much we've spent in terms of acquisition costs? That's really the last piece of the puzzle. But we believe that you need to start really high level from the strategy and then sort of work at every level. And that's what we do. So we've built a platform where it's extremely flexible to take a sort of high-level overview, look at your net revenue KPIs on a super high level, understanding that segment channel contribution. And then if you want to, you can really start going down, boiling things down in profit at, let's say, the most granular level that you can actually imagine. And that's our job. And that's how we empower commercial teams to drive the most profitable business.
Right. So at this point, thanks, Vasilis. Great points. Any question from Raul, Maggie, and Scott? Who's starting first?
I have a
Maggie.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that I don't have a question. I just want to say that what I just saw is they address what I mentioned in the panel. Mm-hmm. A customer acquisition cost. It's not only about distribution. It's not only about commission. So I like that. I like they break the barrier between departments, because they have the commission, they have the sales marketing, they have the loyalty fee. They want to pull all the data together. I think that's very good. The other thing they mentioned is about adjustment, because sometimes we offer net rate. Sometimes, like agency model, we basically have the regular rate and then we pay commission. So they also take into consideration of this. And I think this kind of adjustments really make it more useful. And of course, I can only imagine how you get access for all the data from different departments in order to fit into your platform. That's my observation.
It's a good observation. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Raul, I have a question, but Raul, if you have one, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations. It seems like a great tool, particularly getting profitability at the day level. I think that we also look at day part, our week parts, weekday shoulders and weekends. You may want to consider whether that's a consideration, particularly because sometimes you're trying to maximize the week. Sometimes you're trying to maximize the weekend as opposed to the single Saturday demand. But when it comes down to benchmarking, I think you mentioned something about comparisons. Is that comparison benchmarking to yourself, to prior months, years, quarters, whatever the case it is, or are you integrating market and or comp set data? If so, I assume that the comp set data is based on participation more than anything, correct?
Yes, it's based on reservation. The benchmarking, it's an internal benchmarking on the platform. However, we're talking with the different people on the market that have done work around net revenue to be able to have also that market overview.
Okay, cool. So Vasilis, my question is actually very simple. How do you get the costs that aren't on the P&L anywhere? So how do you get margin? How do you get some of those kind of things, right? Because that room just shows up discounted. We don't even know, but somebody paid full rate for it someplace.
Correct. So what we do is that when we capture the data from there's different areas where we can get all these costs, right? So if we look at transactional data, we don't go and get it from the P&L. We go in the PMS, we get all the transactions, and then we allocate everything in the platform, being it as a setup or being from an external, let's say, acquisition platform that the hotel maybe is using. And the reason why we do that is because we go forward looking in terms of net revenue. So we can see what's my net revenue on the books and what's my distribution cost on the books. And then we have all the sales and marketing part of it, which we can get out of the finance system, and then we allocate that separately. So we do, depending on what cost it is, we have a sort of hybrid approach of really try to allocate it to that transaction from different areas. It's not easy, but it's, that's our job.
So super geeky question. Are you using any kind of machine learning AI to look at those costs? Or are you basically accounting or chart of accounts, if you will, or are you solely driven in terms of where you're finding those costs, like the marketing cost you mentioned?
Yeah, so the marketing cost is basically an allocation that we get from all the different systems. What we are currently working on, we are working on predictive models where we can say, here's your expected occupancy, here's your expected net revenue, and sort of see what kind of, let's say, analytics we can derive from them that can be a little bit ahead of the game of saying, hey, watch out, there's something going on here. But that's something that is still in the kitchen for now.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Right. Last quick question. Federica, you got one?
I do have. First of all, hi, Vasilis. Nice to see you again here. And really, congratulations for the presentation. It was pretty interesting. And one quick question. Can you tell us maybe 3 aspects that are, the strengths of this tool and that make the difference with other products?
So I would say the difference with the overall product is that we're really a super flexible platform. We sort of want to be a sort of Tableau for hospitality without the complexity. So you can really have a lot of drag and drop functionality, and we have analytics for all the departments. So a revenue manager can see one part of it, a GM can see something else, a regional have an overview. So really have that customization per user. The other one is exploration, which the platform allows you to explore really down to the details. You probably could go down to a single reservation. Maybe you don't need to, but that's the level of granularity we can go. So it's very multidimensional. Obviously, the UI is very, let's say, compelling to work with. It's addictive. And then the last part is that total revenue element and that profitability element. We're going to take it forward a notch, because if you think about, for instance, we will allow hotels to allocate their costs in terms of servicing rooms, and a room for 6 nights has a different cost than a room for 1 night. And and displacement, how do you factor that in? And because we have profiles and repeat guests, we can go down to sort of lifetime value and all that kind of stuff if you're really super, like super into that. So yeah, I think that's the mission and the road that we're on to.
Super cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vasilis.
Thank you.
So we have to move to the next session. Thank you again, man, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.